Welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Wednesday, April 22nd. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and Andrew McGinnis. You know what this is here? This is 3/4 of the original incarnation of the Ice Guys show with you on this Wednesday. The only one missing is Dana Lane from the original cast, if you will. But it is a great little old school edition of the Ice Guys today with Andrew joining us and talking about the Wednesday NHL Stanley Cup playoff slate where we only have 3 games tonight. So a little bit of a lesser slate. You know, usually we've been used to the 4-game nights that we've seen in the playoffs. Only 3 here on this Wednesday, but we'll break those down in just a moment. We thank everybody for joining us on the live Betcast last night. Our Patreon members, very fun, enjoyable, and looking forward to, well, right into our breaking news. A great segue to another one coming right up.
This is breaking news from the Ice Guys.
So nice, we're doing it twice. And tonight we are back on once again for another Patreon exclusive live Betcast. Now, as we mentioned coming into the playoffs, we're doing a ton of the Patreon exclusive live Betcast for our Patreon members. But we also mentioned we're going to share the wealth. We're going to basically be, give both the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference their spotlight, if you will. Last night we were on for the Eastern Conference games, Montreal, Tampa Bay, Boston, Buffalo. Tonight we'll be on later. We're going to start at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight, and we'll be on for the duration of Dallas, Minnesota, and Anaheim, Edmonton, the 2 games in the Western Conference tonight. We'll also probably, in all likelihood, be on for the very end of the Pittsburgh-Philadelphia game, because I doubt that game's going to be over by 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll get the tail end of that game as well on the Betcast tonight. So join us and become a Patreon member if you haven't already. 9:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. Join us, patreon.com/iceguys. Get on board for just $10 per month. Excited once again for another Betcast. And Alex, was a good Betcast last night.
Yeah, it was a good Betcast, and looking forward to tonight too. Like I said, nice that we're splitting this up and we're not just going, throughout the night. We're getting, like giving them more of a late night flavor tonight with, like I said, Dallas, Minnesota. Looking forward to that game, as well as Anaheim, Edmonton. That's it's weird having that being a game too. So it has a completely different feel than the rest of the other series that have started a little bit earlier. So it'd be nice to be on live for that one as well.
Yeah, no question. As far as last night goes, we have to start with the bad news, at least in the world of Andrew McGinnis. The Montreal Canadiens falling in overtime last night to the Tampa Bay Lightning in what was another penalty-filled affair. This series has been far too over-officiated from day one. More penalties last night. It was certainly intense. There was tons of scrums, tons of ruckus throughout that game. I thought Montreal came out strong, and then Tampa Bay scored on their very first shot in that game when it looked like Montreal had the chances. And, of course, Montreal, though, battled back, ended up tying the game. But, man, we nailed it with Josh Anderson, did we not? We talked about how beware of this guy. He's a playoff performer. Don't be fooled by the regular season numbers. He is someone that will show up in the postseason. He's done it before. He's done it in Columbus even before he even joined Montreal. He had a really strong game. The Montreal power play still had more success. Wasn't it freaking terrific to see Lane Hudson finally shoot the puck? I know that ended up being called back, but still, shoot the puck more on the power play. A lot of Habs fans have been looking for that. And look, it was you knew Tampa was going to push down 2-1. They did. They tied it 2-2. Obviously, in the third period, game went to overtime. Boy, there were chances both ways in overtime. Montreal certainly had their looks. But then just, he's not had a good run here with Montreal. Talking about Kirby Dach, we know that. But just cataclysmic mistakes you cannot make. You have to gain the red line there at that point in the game. This is the playoffs, man. There's a chance to go up 2-0 in a series. You have to gain the center ice line before you shoot that puck in. And instead, it turns into an icing. And then we saw what happened right there. He had to stay on the ice. They lose the face-off, critical defensive zone face-off loss. And then it reminded me of when the dog breaks off the leash and you're chasing him, with Kirby Dach trying to take on Moser. Like, there's Moser, the dog, running away from the leash, and there's there's Kirby Dach, like, come on back here, Spot. Let's go. And he couldn't, the dog wasn't listening. In this case, J.J. Moser. I mean, it was a brutal sequence for Kirby Dach. Loses his guy in the D zone. His icing led to that situation, and then game over. Great wrist shot by Moser to beat Jakub Dobeš. And we're going back to Montreal with the series tied at 1 game apiece. Tough loss for Montreal, but Andrew, at the end, by the way, this has got, it's time. Usually I'm not going to bang the drum of a healthy scratch. It's time for Kirby Dach. It's time to sit. You can't play next game when you're making that kind of a mistake, and you're giving them absolutely zilch, jack shit, nothing offensively as far as production. When you're doing that, you're not giving anything offensively to the team, and you're making mistakes like that, costing your team a game in the playoffs, you got to sit after that. Especially when, I don't care who you bring in, Brendan Gallagher, whoever. It can't be Kirby Dach in that lineup. He's got to pay some sins for what happened last night, especially when he's been non-existent for the large part of time of late. But Andrew, your thoughts on a tough loss for Montreal, but still at the bright side, you're going back to the Bell Center and La Belle Province with a series tied at a game apiece.
Yeah, and listen, great to be here with you, Ian, and of course, Alex as well. Look, I respect the hell out of Marty St. Louis for today with the Zoom call with the media, having Kirby Dach's back. That's what a coach does. A coach isn't going to rip their play. This isn't the time for a coach to do that.
For public reprimanding, correct. Yeah.
As we've seen in the comment section here on the show so far, it's a pure damn shame that Kirby Dach and his girlfriend, are you fucking kidding me? That Kirby Dach's girlfriend has to deactivate her Instagram too? What a sick joke that is. I was tweeting about it. I was upset about it as a fan, but there's nothing personal you have to take out of this. Right. That's just an absolute joke. I'm as diehard as it gets, Ian. I feel like an anxious feeling the entire day when Habs games are going on. There's no personal stuff that should be taken. It makes the fan base look bad. Those people do not represent all of us. But look, I said this to you before we went live, and I'll say it again. If you told me that the Habs were going to get the split in Tampa Bay, go back to the Bell Center, feeling like you were in the game in the first 2 games, and now you get to go back to the Bell Center with a chance to go up 2-1, I would have said, that sounds great. That sounds great to me. The thing that I think is the most difficult for Canadiens fans, which is a good feeling to have, is that they actually, once again, all situations expected goals, won that battle. Now, again, nobody cares about expected goals. It's all about actual goals. But they've been right there. Like this whole big, bad Tampa Bay Lightning thing, the Habs are right there with it. The one thing I will say, Ian, they got dominated in overtime, outright dominated. And they looked slow. They looked like they didn't have confidence. One thing I noticed was that Tampa Bay's forecheck, they decided not to let the Habs set up at all, and they're going to just forecheck their defensemen and make them make quicker decisions. But, you mentioned the Anderson line, and a lot of people that follow the Habs should realize that the unfortunate part is that's been their second line. I don't care what the lineup sheet says. That's been their second line. And maybe that changes when we go at home, because at home you get the last change. But I've been saying this forever. Jake Evans is probably the most underrated player in on the team and doesn't get credit for he deserves. But that Danault, Anderson, Evans line, fantastic stuff. But the real question is going to be, how do we get Suzuki going? How do we get Caulfield going? But more importantly, I've defended the second line forever. And look, being an East Coast boy, I love Alex Newhook. He is a third line player on a Stanley Cup team. He is not a second line player. And it breaks my heart whenever I see Demidov have the puck and make a fantastic play. And it looks like the three of us are trying to finish that playoff. It's just he has nobody there to finish the playoff. So it's very like they need to get the secondary scoring, because if you can't get the top guys going, and I really, really much look forward to seeing what the home ice advantage looks for when it comes to the Canadiens is concerned. The last thing I'll say, it took me a minute or two before I get into the refereeing. I'm not going to play the boy who cried wolf here. The only thing I'm going to say is that game last night compared to game one, that's the game that Tampa Bay wants to play. John Cooper, with that smug look on his face, he wants scrums after every whistle. He wants chaos.
Yeah, we don't mind being the villain was his quote post game.
Yeah, like, I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, look, Oliver Kapanen is like 21 years old, considered to be a rookie in the league. He's not having a good playoffs. He eats like 5 cross checks. Texier comes in. Texier can't do anything either. Jack Eye comes in. And after all that, Tampa Bay gets a power play out of it. So, I mean, comment here from talking about they could use Michael Hage. And, you know, the depth is a real concern for me. And but guys, what a joke. Scott Sabrin trying to get Anderson to fight off the draw. Listen, man, the most impact you made on the game was trying to injure Anderson with 2 minutes to go in the game. That was your biggest impact. So, and also I got to just throw this out there. People are talking a lot about the Slav fight. There's 2 ways we can go about looking at that. There's this kid is absolutely feeling himself with the hat trick game 1. He
I give him all the credit for doing that.
The only thing I'll say is that you got to have some practice. The only other fight he's had is in a preseason game. It's like, dude, you can't just like, you guys know Heat Daddy on Twitter. He always says, keep your chin tucked, and he had his face like wide open to get punched.
Yeah.
So that was tough to see. But
if we're setting a betting, let's be serious. If we're setting a betting line for who's going to win a fight, Slavkovsky versus Hagel, Hagel's a minus 1,200 favorite. I mean, that's
and in hockey, it's not about who's taller or who's bigger. It's just about who knows how to really do it, I would say. Anyway, I've talked too long here. One thing somebody said was that I was spreading some hate in a Tampa Bay podcast earlier today. I literally hopped into a YouTube podcast for Tampa Bay Lightning reporters for 2 minutes. And all I said, because they were talking about Sabrin, was, why was Sabrin on the ice with 2 minutes to go? Was it to injure Josh Anderson? That's all I said. But maybe the passion maybe the fandom in me came out a little bit. But I didn't say anything too bad.
Yeah, he's out. He's in the lineup for one reason, for the physical stuff and the fisticuffs and the nastiness. That's what he's out there for. You know, he's not even a tenth. Yeah, he's not even a tenth of the player Josh Anderson is as far as being able to actually do some things on the ice from an offensive standpoint. He's there for the physicality and for causing a ruckus.
And why are fan bases getting so soft about that now? Like, I mean, here we are, playoff time. Like, this is what we've all been fucking waiting for. You know, these kind of battles, these kind of wars, and then you got people kind of crying about them. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
but Alex, you agree? Like, Anderson doesn't have to take that fight, right? Because why would he take that fight, right?
No, that's right.
But also at the same time, it you know, the way that series is going, and knowing that you're going to have to fight throughout it, you know, you're going to have to battle throughout it, you know, for everybody to step up. Like I said, Slavkovsky didn't have to fight anybody after getting a hat trick, but he did. And fought Hagel and fought a guy that clearly overmatched him. Everybody's answering the bell. So when you got, you know, every man up and playing at that kind of level, and you're matching a team like Tampa Bay, like I said, they want to be bullies. You know, they learned from the last 2 years getting beat by Florida. Hey, we need to muck it up. We have to bully it up. Hell, never mind the Florida series. Go all the way back in the day when they were winning, when they were getting their asses kicked by Boston. They were just finding ways to get goals and playing better offense. But Boston was beating the living shit out of them along the boards in some of those series. So they've carried over that from those years, and they're using it to their advantage now.
And I like it when they actually take one guy out of the pile, because there's no point in letting all this shit happen and then it just being 4-on-4 or 5-on-5, right?
You're just giving them a green card, a free pass to say, keep on doing it.
Even if the Habs get the extra one, to me, if I was an NHL referee, you got to take one team and give them a power play, or else there's going to be just chaos after every single scrum, because it's going to be just 5-on-5. So then you'll say, okay, I'll take your worst player off the ice. I mean, one thing my buddy texted me, and he goes, well, Andrew, at least one thing you can say, even though he's had one hell of a game, is you guys have done a good job of getting Hagel off the ice, because he spent the 15 minutes in the box.
Yeah. And it was funny. We saw full penalty boxes in a lot of the games last night, especially the 2 games in the East early on. And people are saying, you know, wow, the temperature keeps on rising. Montreal, Tampa, can it go any higher? I think it actually could.
Oh, yeah.
If you think of the nature of the emotion and the bubbling cauldron of emotion, passion, and intensity that is going to be inside the Bell Center for Game 3 and Game 4, I could actually see it even getting nastier. Maybe not fighting in the benches like Montreal, Washington last year, but I mean, we could be pushing that limit maybe in Game 3 and Game 4. I think it's going to continue. I think it's going to be just as nasty and tons of scrums, maybe a fight or two. It's going to continue in my mind.
I was going to say, it'd be nice if we can actually see two guys drop their sticks, drop their gloves, and actually have a physical fucking fight, and not the slap fest bullshit that we saw that got everybody thrown.
Yeah, that first period scrum was a bunch of
nonsense.
We both said that on the Betcast. Yeah, drop
and
it
also
fucking
free Gallagher, man. Free Gallagher. Like, I'm sick and tired of this shit. Like, I've been a fan since I could walk of the Montreal Canadiens. All right, I'm not even joking. I can't remember how old I was when Gallagher got drafted by the team. You know, he's too slow. He can't keep up. He can't do this. You know what? You're either a singer or you're a dancer. And we've got too many singers in the bottom six. Like, you talk about the grit. I want to see Gallagher's face bleeding out there because he went into a pile or he crashed the net. Because I'm sorry, Texier's not crashing the net. Zach Bolduc's not crashing the net. Kirby Dach's not crashing the net. Those guys don't give a fuck like Gallagher.
That's a travesty. He's not using his frame.
And you know what, Ian? I really think, I pray to God, I really think that Marty was just saving him for when we have the last change. It has to be. Because what a disgrace, what a sick joke. For this guy goes through a 4-year rebuild, and you got him up in the press box for a bunch of perimeter players. Yeah. You know, like, how do you think Gallagher feels up in the press box watching his team? Because, you know, when Kapanen is getting pushed around, what do you think Texier is going to do to his defense? Texier is not going to do shit, and that pisses me off.
I think he's going to get in, and I really do. I truly believe that Brendan Gallagher's coming in Game 3 because I think Doc's going out. You can't play Doc again. Not after that. Not after his costly mistakes twice, multiple mistakes at the end of that game in overtime. So I think Brendan Gallagher will get in. I'd certainly
shocked to
put
see
him
two changes. Don't be shocked to see Veleno in too.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, Joe Veleno in the fourth line role, but I think there will be a couple lineup changes for Game 3 coming up with that. What a series that is. Look, we talked about Boston Buffalo yesterday. A little bit concerned about where's the headspace for Boston after that utterly brutal collapse in the third period of Game 1. You got to give them all the credit in the world. That's some mental resilience. That's some mental toughness to do what they did last night. Give them all the credit. Swayman was excellent once again in net for the Bruins, and the Bruins bounced back strong. Although Buffalo attempted another crazy comeback, they did get it to 4-2. But that was all they would get. Bruins end up tying up the series at a game apiece. We had a lot of back and forth here in this game. And look, UPL, we all saw it. Everybody saw it. It was just one of the worst goals you'll ever see from center ice, Morgan Geekie. It was a one bounce off the ice. He tried to glove it, but it hopped over his glove and into the net. It was just a horrific moment, unfortunately, for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. And I give him all the credit. Did he hide from it in the post game? No. Spoke to the media. Answered all the questions. I will give anyone, even it's a tough moment for him, brutal. Somehow you can't let that go in. Shades of Dan Cloutier, Vancouver, Detroit in the playoffs 20 years ago. We talked about that on the Betcast. Shades of Vesa Toskala, who was with the Toronto Maple Leafs at the time against the New York Islanders, where the puck's bouncing like it's on a road, and then it just hops over his glove at the last second and in. This one was just one bounce over the glove and in, but still it brought back memories of that Toskala incident too with Toronto against the Islanders. But credit to the Bruins, Alex. What a bounce back, and showed a little of that resolve. That's where the leaders took over, right after Game 1. Yeah. It's probably where Charlie McAvoy spoke out. Pasternak said something. The guys that have been here for a long time, been through the wins, been through the good times in the Bruins, with the Bruins, especially in the playoffs, they probably said a little something to get that train back on the tracks after just a brutal, painful Game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one where, I kind of kicked myself for not having Bruins in that spot. We were talking about the last 2.5 months how bad this team is away from TD Garden. But that definitely was a step-up spot, a veteran spot. And at the same time for Buffalo, too, it was kind of a bit of a natural letdown. They played well. They kept their composure for the majority of that game. Like you said, then you had those little lulls and lapses in the UPL moment. Like I said, that can happen to any goalie. It's not the end of the world, but at the same time, you can just tell where that was just kind of the defining moment of, all right, the veteran team's got this second game, and now it's an even series, and now it's heading back to Boston, where the Bruins have been lights out the last couple of months. So it'll be interesting to see how this Buffalo team can respond, not only taking their first punch in the face, getting their first playoff loss, but not having to go on the road and try to get things back in their momentum.
You know what? By the way, they're going to score at some point. I've been betting the Norris, Doan, and Benson props for Buffalo, that line. Man, they've done everything but score for the Buffalo Sabres in this series. They've had chances galore in game 1, chances galore last night in game 2. I'm not deviating. Puck's going to go in at some point for them. Josh Doan, Josh Norris, Zach Benson, because they seem to be getting chances for Buffalo every night. And the prices on their props, as we know, are great. So we're going to keep trying to get one of these damn things to hit for us here moving forward into game 3. One other thing, too, I want to mention, too, about Boston's been great at home. We've talked about it. TD Garden, and we've cashed a lot of bets with Boston at home, picking up on the fact that they've just been so good at TD Garden. That's not going to make it easy on Buffalo, but I could also see it from a Buffalo standpoint, the positive of going on the road, that maybe they can relax a little bit. Because let's be honest, for 5 out of 6 periods in this series at home, you could argue Boston's won 5 of the 6 periods in the series so far in Buffalo. So maybe going on the road, and we know the Sabres had a good road record this year. And I'm already hearing Lindy Ruff contemplating Alex Lyon for game 3 because he's had a great road record. Remember, he had that 10-game road winning streak earlier this year? He was going for the record, 11, before he finally lost on the road. So there's real possibility that there actually could be a goalie change. And I don't know if it's so much because UPL gave up the horrible goal. I think it's just he's gone with a rotation a lot this year. Alex Lyon's been very good on the road for the Sabres. It wouldn't shock me to see that. One last thing I'll say about the bad goal by UPL. What he had to do is treat it like a baseball catcher. Just somehow get your body, get your chest in front of that puck. And then that's probably not going to happen. He tried to catch it, and then it took that wicked bounce, and that's what burned him.
But one thing that you mentioned about that, getting out of Buffalo for the Sabres could be a good thing in the sense of that there's probably a little less pressure for them playing on the road. The pressure of them playing at home, being that, group first time 15 years, that had to be a lot. Yeah. For them to be just a regular old road team getting the, shit boot out of them, maybe that's actually a little bit less pressure for the Sabres team, to be honest. So that'll be something interesting to see early in that game.
It will be, because I think part of me says I kind of like Buffalo game 3 because of that element of less pressure and relaxing on the road, and they played well on the road. But the part of me says, well, Boston's been a friggin' machine at home all year. So that's going to be interesting. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with game 3 of that series. Andrew, your thoughts on Bruins Sabres?
Yeah, as far as picks are concerned, I'm kind of mad at myself because I told myself both Habs and Bruins were going to get the split. Played Bees game 1, and then when they choked it, I was like, I don't know if I feel as great about it in game 2. So I didn't play it, but I did play the over on saves for Swayman. So I didn't get the plus money, but that one ended up coming through. You said it, Alex, you're saying it, the comments are saying it. Look, it's not about 1 minute. It's about the whole game. And I'll tell you what, even though Buffalo is 1-1 in the series, it's been 5 of the 6 periods we've seen, Buffalo's probably been outplayed. And we know how great the Bees are at the Garden. So look forward to watching the rest of the series. But I'll tell you what, this Bruins team is known for benefiting off that last change, using the home city. So I get what you're saying about the goalies and the road record and stuff. But if there's one team that can really be happy about it, and this is coming from a Habs fan, the Bruins have excelled in the playoffs on home ice. I think they'll get the job done. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. One thing I forgot to mention when we talked about the Habs is I was getting so worked up. It's kind of like a personal heart hedge here. I locked this in this morning. I think you guys will like this one. 35-1. Brandon Hagel, Conn Smythe winner. Kucherov, Jarvis, Aho, McKinnon, all these names. I say this every year. There's very minimal point in betting NHL futures on the actual team unless you're trying to get, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars down, because you can just bet Conn Smythe's at a way better price. And 35-1 for Brandon Hagel. If they get past my Habs, that price is definitely not 35-1. And the guy has played very well in both games so far.
Yep, that's
True,
right.
yeah.
It's trying to lock in the price that's available right now. It's not so much, I really, really, truly think Tampa Bay is going to the Stanley Cup final. It's more so that, this price won't be around if they get past Montreal, and the price will only dwindle, from that point on. So from that standpoint, just locking in a price that may not be there if Tampa Bay is able to get past Montreal. I do agree with what Perlo said about the fact that in the chat about the Sabres, that it's almost like the comeback zapped them energy wise a little bit. Yeah, I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
That could have been the case
definitely.
a little bit for sure when it comes to what happened last night. All right, I'm going to talk in one swatch here about the West game so that we can move on to today's games. And let's give Utah credit. I mean, a young team that learned from the experience of game one. They blew the third period lead, and that's what we were worried about against Vegas in game one. That, that the young team, that so many of these guys playing playoff hockey for the first time with Logan Cooley, Dylan Guenther, players like that in particular. And they had a 3-2 lead. They ended up losing, of course, that game. Actually, 2-1 lead. They ended up losing that game 4-2 in game one. And then last night, they were the better team last night. They carried it, the play, more often than not against the Vegas Golden Knights. And I thought game one was pretty even, too. I think if you're Utah, you're starting to think, wow, we're in this series. We're definitely in this series now after winning 3-2 last night against Vegas. Now, I took Vegas to win the game one in the series. I did that with Edmonton. I did that with Vegas. Edmonton to win game one in the series, Vegas to win game one in the series. But I think they're going to have their hands full now because this team now is going to be going back to a very raucous Delta Center, Salt Lake City for the first home playoff game since the franchise relocated to Utah. It's going to be an off-the-charts atmosphere, I'm sure. We're seeing a great gesture by the owner of the Utah Mammoth, Ryan Smith, inviting 8 Mammoth fans to be in the suite with him for the game tomorrow night. That's just spectacular stuff. That guy is such a great owner. It's not even, it's insane how good he is as an owner. He gets it. He's trying to cultivate great relationships with the fan. Not good, great relationships with the fans. And that's great to see. But that was a great gutsy effort. And Logan Cooley, what a goal. That was all-out hustle and effort to get to that puck, to beat Carter Hart for the game winner. Vejmelka was good enough. I still worry. Trust me, I still worry about Karel Vejmelka because game one wasn't great, but he was better last night. And Utah was more opportunistic. And I thought Utah as a team defensively played a better game much better than they did in game one. And Alex, they've got some momentum now. Series tied at 1. That's what they were looking for out of T-Mobile Arena. And now they go back to Utah 1-1 on Friday night.
So far, this series has played exactly the way that I thought it would. And like I said, now I have essentially Utah plus 175 in game 3 by way of that Utah to lead series 2-1 after games 1 through 3. So it worked out well. Cashed with that plus money with Utah. Like I said, just had that feeling where Utah was going to learn from game 1 and be able to apply the lesson in game 2. That's exactly how it looked out. So now hoping that Utah can take care of that, the home ice, get that big win in game 3, and then now I can kind of free roll and go, I can, stay with Utah. If I feel like they have the momentum, I can, go right back and grab Vegas in game 4 or grab something adjusted series. But like I said, that's what those plays can give you, kind of open the door for some, variance and some changes that you can make later in the series.
And the only thing I'll say, and I'll let you speak on this, Alex and Andrew, too, about the 2 West games is LA. I don't have much to say about LA, Colorado. That series is ticking me off. I'm sick of Colorado and their lack of offense. Like, I think they're on a run of like 3 goals or less now, Colorado, in like 8 or 9 games or 9 of 10 games. Like, they're not this fire wagon offensive team that we've become accustomed to. They're having a hard time finishing their chances right now. And I know Anton Forsberg's been a big part of the story. He's been excellent in the first 2 games, but this is not fucking Kelly Rudy, man, in his heyday back in LA in the 90s. This is a guy that's been bounced around from team to team, Columbus, Ottawa, you name it. You should be finishing chances a little better than you have so far in this series against LA. But they're I mean, only 2 goals last night in the victory against LA, and they needed overtime. Another low-scoring 2-1 victory in game 1 as well. Where the hell's the offense gone for the Colorado Avalanche? This is as slow as molasses back end for LA too. You should be making mincemeat out of them. So I'm a little concerned here with Colorado because if you're having trouble finishing right now, Alex, if you're going to get past LA, they just don't have the offensive chops to beat you in this series. And LA is probably still going home in 5, which I hope, because I've got Colorado 4-1 in the series, plus 250. Exact series result, Avs 4-1. I'm hoping it's in 5. But I'm concerned for after the LA series for Colorado. This offense has been disjointed, lacking pop, lacking punch for a while now. Alex, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree. But I don't wake the baby. Don't rock the apple cart. Don't fuck with the church's money right now. The pace of which this series is going is perfect. Someone who also has Colorado 4-1, and I have specifically LA to win the next game, game 3, back at Crypto.com Arena. This is exactly where you want it. This is, you want a low and slow series. And for Colorado, this ain't the worst thing in the world. Okay, you get through these sleepy games and kind of just trudge through. And then all of a sudden, you've got a lot more energy than the winner of Dallas and Minnesota, 2 teams that look like they're going to continue to beat the crap out of each other. And it's only going to get, become more intense, more physical, and possibly could be a longer series than expected. So, no, this is the way Colorado should play it. Just find your ways to win. Maybe you lose game 3 at home. Maybe LA gets some momentum there. But like I said, it's just a matter of, getting through it, staying healthy, and just kind of keeping things kind of status quo for the Avs right now.
Maybe it's just LA's mucking it up, just trying to gum up the works, gum up these games, slow it down, just be airtight, and it's just been difficult. It's just been pretty surprising to see that, who are the goal scorers so far? You had Nick Waugh, of all people, with the overtime winner. It's been a quiet series for McKinnon. It's been a quiet series for Natchez. It's been a quiet series for a playoff performer from years past, Big Val Nichushkin, so far for Colorado.
Brock Nelson.
Brock Nelson too. Like a lot of guys shooting blanks early in this series, but yet they're still up 2-0. And Wedgwood has been terrific so far. Wedgwood has been excellent because LA's had chances, and Wedgwood's been there to turn it aside. But Andrew, your thoughts on what we saw out west last night?
Yeah, I'll just say, similar to what Alex just said, if you can win like this without your stars going crazy, it's such an achievement. And the fact that it's a 2-1 scoreline for both. It's obviously it wasn't pretty, but they get the job done. And if the way I look at it is this, despite who won, if you're LA, you're thinking to yourself, man, we might have played 2 of our best games we're going to play. And I understand it was on the road, so they could play better at home. But at the end of the day, how many more games in this series is Colorado going to score 2 goals, guys? Is it going to happen again? I don't know, but this, if I had to,
I didn't think it was going to happen last night, and it did. Yeah,
yeah. The only bet I had in that game was Forsberg over his saves, so I was happy to get there with that one. But it kind of reminds me of the Oilers series, guys. I mean, it's only 1 game in, but no McDavid goal, no Leon goal, and no problem. They scored a handful of goals, so it was kind of a prop nightmare. But as far as the Avalanche are concerned, McKinnon loves to see that. McKinnon's sitting oh man, this is awesome. This is what we need. And any fan of any team should be able to look at that and say wow. It's kind of like Jason Dickinson scoring for the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid's singing hallelujah on the bench because he's doesn't have to be just me, right? So I think that's great news for them.
Yeah, no question. That's a great point on that. They're getting other people stepping up. Jason Dickinson for Edmonton, and we'll get to Edmonton in just a moment as well. So very interesting to see, again, how it goes for Colorado back in LA. One thing I would warn you is that people thinking that LA's played pretty competitively in these first 2 games. Now they're going back home. They could make it interesting. Let's not forget how pathetic the Kings have been at home this year at times. Pathetic. Losing games, as big favorites. They did that a shit ton all year at home. I don't think that's a home ice that Colorado's going to be fearing, by any stretch of the imagination when they go there. We'll see how it plays out. All right, let's turn to tonight. We got 3 games for Wednesday. We'll be on for the Western Conference games. We'll start with the Battle of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. Do the Penguins have an answer? Do they have anything in them to try to turn this around? We've got Philadelphia minus 115, home favorites. 5.5 the total. We've seen the total dip for the first time in this series, down to 5.5. Philly, of course, leading the series 2-0. It starts and ends with the Pittsburgh Penguins getting their offense going. That's another thing. Buffalo's power play, terrible against Boston so far, and Pittsburgh's power play just as bad. It's been so bad, the Penguins' power play. It's a chore to get into the offensive zone on the power play for Pittsburgh. That's how bad it's been in this year. But you got to give Philly credit. Rick Tocchet teams always have good penalty kills. They always have. And we're seeing it in this series. Penalty kill's been awesome. They put the clamps down on really everybody. Crosby, Malkin, Mantha, Shinikov was a big offensive story for Pittsburgh. in the second half of the season. I haven't heard anything from them so far in this series. It's been a clinic defensively from Philadelphia. Now, Pittsburgh did finally, from a shots perspective, push through in the third period of game 2. They finally, it looked like, started to carry play a little bit. But again, it's no good if you can't beat Darth Vladar. Dan Vladar here for the Philadelphia Flyers. My God, he got him for pennies on the dollar, Danny Briere, in the offseason. And look at what Dan Vladar has given this team as far as goaltending. Spectacular season, and even better here in the first 2 games in these playoffs. For me, this is a simple handicap. For me, full game, I could only look at the Flyers to go up 3-0. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get a little bit cute here with the game. I'm going to take Philly full game because I think that's just, and they look slow too. Like, it looks like Philadelphia is winning the battles, winning the pucks all over the ice. I don't know if it's going to necessarily change here tonight. And it's, you got a lot of long in the tooth as far as longevity, games under their belt, and age on this Pittsburgh team. It's starting to show a little bit with some of their players, like, Crosby, Malkin, Carlson, even on the blue line. I could only look at Philly here in the full game, but I will take a shot. And maybe this is just, they haven't shown me they could score a first goal yet, but I will grab a small shot with Penguins' first goal, first period here tonight. Just because, look, it's a very simple thought process here. Get the lead. You've got a puncher's chance to get back in the series and win game 3. You go down 1-0 again, and here we go. Out comes the wet blanket. Out comes the hornet's nest all over again to just completely devour this Pittsburgh offense again from the Flyers, which could happen again if the Flyers get the lead. So it's really that simple. I think if you're going to endorse the Penguins here, for me, the better option is first goal, first period, rather than trusting them for 60. It's just really that simple because I don't see a pathway for them winning if they fall behind again. I also can make a case for Dan Vladar over saves. If you're into the saves props, we mentioned Forsberg. I know Andrew liked that yesterday. We mentioned it as well. If you're into the save props a little bit, Vladar could be worth a look. He did go over his saves prop in game 2, the last game of this series. And you got to think it's fire all pucks at net, and you got to try to generate something. So nobody should be shy about turning down a reasonable scoring chance and a look if you're the Penguins, being down 2-0. So that over 20, and it's only 21.5, by the way, the Dan Vladar saves number here in this game. I could see him going over that. I got to bet Porter Martone goal, point, whatever thing you can think of with him. He's got an 8-game point streak, 8-game point streak. And obviously he scored in back-to-back games to start this series as well. There's also some good point numbers to mention for the Flyers. If you want to follow players that have had success in the series so far, Konechny's tallied a point in back-to-back games in this series. Christian Dvorak, he's got a point in back-to-back games in this series. His point prop is only -105. So if you're looking at players that have produced so far in this series, those are certainly some players to keep an eye on here. It's hard to bet Penguin goal props for me. I want to kind of take a shot that maybe they could find the back of the net, but it's not easy. If I were to sprinkle, I'd look at, Mantha, Shinikov. Crosby, by the way, I think he'll be shooting the puck tonight a little bit. He's gone over 2.5 shots, by the way, Sidney Crosby, in back-to-back games, I believe, in this series. Even though the puck hasn't been going in, we have seen Sid go over 2.5 shots in game 1 and in game 2, and it's +125. For Sid Crosby over 2.5 shots tonight. So if that holds true to form, that pattern, pretty good price considering he's gotten to 3 shots in the first 2 games in this series. And one last bet I'm going to make here is over 5. I'm going to buy the dip reluctantly, small bet, but I'm going to take a shot buying this dip down to 5.5 and bet over 5.5 -120. It's not easy to decide I want to do this, but like I said, I think over 5.5 -120. I agree with Brazeau, too. I like that idea of Jonathan Davis in our chat. Brazeau into the lineup, fresh legs, live legs after being out, and maybe gives them a little jolt offensively. And you're certainly getting a great price on the goal prop for Pittsburgh there with Justin Brazeau tonight, upwards of +560. Alex, how are you approaching it here as the Flyers look to take a stranglehold of the Battle of Pennsylvania?
Yeah, and this is tough because after watching, game 2, I messaged you and I said this could easily be a 4-0 sweep, which is unfortunate because the way that we, had this one bet with 6-game, 7-game split, have to, either dole out a few units to try to turn this car around, much like LA Edmonton last year, or try and trust in Pittsburgh to right the ship here and find a way to get a win on the road. And Pittsburgh has to come out hot here. Pittsburgh's got to score that first goal first period. I'm right there with you. I grabbed that plus 135. Sidney Crosby, I'm not going to be on him for 2 goals tonight, but I do like him with 1 goal plus 200 at FanDuel. Like I said, he's been firing. He's going to have to step it up. This Pittsburgh team's just got to find a way to match this intensity, match this speed and physicality of Philly right now. And like I said, felt like they'd be able to command things at home. Maybe they're a team that needs to get away from home, get on the road, and have a business-like manner, but they've got to do it early. So I would look at anything Pittsburgh first period money line, first goal, first period. If they don't take out of that first 20 minutes with the lead, I don't see them having a lead in this game, and I don't see them having a lead the rest of the series. So that's the way I look at it. It's all or nothing right now in period 1 of game 3. So give me Pittsburgh first goal, first period. I will grab a little bit of Pittsburgh money line in the first period too. I see a minus $1.10, $1.12 with that, and I have Sidney Crosby anytime goal scorer plus 200.
Yeah, I think that's the approach, and that's why there's nothing. I think if you're going to look at Pittsburgh, they have to have they're dead meat if they don't have a strong start anyway. And if they fall behind, like, how does anyone have confidence where if Philly scores first again, they come back? They've not been able to solve this just airtight, team, a wide structure. And it's also the forwards too. They're doing an impeccable job back checking for the Flyers. That's been a big reason why the defensive play has been so good. It's imperative they get the first goal, but even the value, I don't love the money line price on Pittsburgh when they've been dominated in this series in the first period. So to me, the best value bet to take a shot that maybe Pittsburgh, with this urgency at an all-time high, can get on the board first is that first goal, first period at plus price, obviously at FanDuel. Andrew, how are you approaching it here, Penguins and Flyers?
Yeah, I love everything you guys are saying. I agree. The way Alex just ended there, I couldn't agree more. Like, the first period defines what the Penguins do. I've been saying this on any show I've done, that I truly believe still to this day that there's a correlation. Pittsburgh over, Philly under. We haven't seen the overs yet because Pittsburgh hasn't won a game yet. But, right. Let's not forget, like, the Minnesota, you guys remember Minnesota-Dallas game 1, right? Like, that was just an absolute dominant performance. What happened in game 2? Like, I know Philly did it to Pittsburgh twice. But, how many times have we seen it across? How many times have we seen a favorite like the Detroit Pistons of, double digits lose in game 1, and then tonight Detroit's probably going to win by double digits, right? Anything can happen from game to game, and I get it. People say don't handicap off hope, right? But, it's not always as easy as the Flyers look great the first 2 games, so they're going to win the next one. And it's not always as easy to say that Pittsburgh looked bad, so they have to win too. To me, one thing I'm going to say is that you guys know I'm a Crosby guy. We got the picture right behind me. But out of all the players that are playing in the NHL playoffs, do we think that Carlson, Letang, Crosby, and Malkin care if they're playing on the moon or if they're playing in Pittsburgh or if they're playing in Philadelphia? They don't care. Like, I really don't care. The only thing that really affects it is that the last change, guys like Dvorak and Couturier and all these guys that are such good defensive forwards, the last change matters big time here. But, to me, put it this way, guys, I'm curious what you think of this. I don't think this is much of a hot take by any means, but the winner of this game tonight will be the winner of game 4 as well. I'll go on record with that. Whoever wins tonight is winning game 4. Pittsburgh loses tonight, say goodbye to the gentleman's sweep. It's going to be
definitely think that if Pittsburgh loses tonight, I think they're going out 4 straight if they lose tonight. Yeah.
But, if all of a sudden Pittsburgh wins 4-2 tonight, they're going to be singing, hey, we're back. Guess who's back? The Penguins offense is back. So give me 3+ shots on goal for Brian Rust. Give me a power play point for Sidney Crosby, and Penguins first period.
All right, there you go. Like I said, if you're going to take Pittsburgh, that's the path. That's definitely the path, in my opinion, because they've got to play from in front. And by the way, you mentioned the correlation with Philly under, Pittsburgh over. We've mentioned this too. If Philly gets the first goal, live bet the under, because they're just going to try to drag this game down. But if Pittsburgh, let's say finally Pittsburgh scores the first goal tonight, then If you didn't bet over pregame, you maybe bet it live, because then Philly's got to open up the game, take a few more chances, be a little bit more aggressive. So that's exactly why, if you're going to look at live betting the total, Philly scores first, hit the under. Pittsburgh scores first, hit the over, because Philly can't sit back anymore. They got to open up, and that can open up the rush game for Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden, odd man rushes, the door opens for some of those for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And boy, do they need some right now. All right, next up, we've got Dallas, Minnesota. This has been a very good series so far. We've got Minnesota minus 125, home favorites, 5.5 the total. Series tied 1-1. By the way, correction, Andrew meant Ricard Raquel with the shots as opposed to Brian Rust. But yeah, Ricard Raquel is what Andrew meant to say there with that. This game's fascinating. Now, I had the series mapped out that I'd be looking at Minnesota in Game 3. This is always the spot where they win, usually, Game 3. But because, I don't know. I don't like what Marcus Foligno did. I don't like, there's 2 Minnesota sports figures the last 2 nights in the playoffs. I don't know what the fuck they're thinking. I don't know what Marcus Foligno was thinking, saying what he said after Game 2 to piss off Dallas. And I don't know what the hell Jaden McDaniels was saying for the Minnesota Timberwolves after they beat Denver, saying they have no real defenders. Really, you don't give teams bulletin board material. You don't give teams a reason to get extra pissed off at this time of year when you're playing them. It's crazy. And not saying now Dallas, you got to bet Dallas because of that, but it's going to get back to Dallas, what Foligno said in that one. So we'll see. This is a real hard game. I mean, I'm going to maybe sprinkle on a draw here. I could see it with the Stars and the Wild. This could be a draw spot. I'm going to definitely be on over 5.5 here, simply because we saw 6 goals plus in the first 2 games. There's some 5.5s out there with this total. It's gotten to 6+ in the first 2 games between these 2 teams. And even with a much better defensive effort, from the Dallas Stars in Game 2, Minnesota still scored 2. You think Minnesota is probably going to step things up at the offensive end tonight going into this Game 3. I could see Dallas chipping in, some goals as well. You look at all of a sudden going back to the regular season, the Dallas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1-1 to the over. Minnesota going back to the regular season, they're 5, 1-2 to the over. Head-to-head with these teams going back to what we saw during the regular season, 5-2, 5-2, 5-4, 6-1, 4-2. There was 1 game that stayed under. That's it, of the last 6 meetings between these 2 teams. So you're going to dole me out a 5.5 with a total in a Stars Wild game. I'm taking the over. It's really that simple. Everything as far as regular season form, into the playoffs, head-to-head trending form, all of it says these teams can very comfortably get to 6 goals. And we have seen it, obviously, in the first 2 games. So I like over 5.5 here. I'm going to sprinkle on the draw. I'm out of it from a side perspective, though, because I thought I'd be on Minnesota in Game 3. But a little bit of that in me says the intangibles of Marcus Foligno trying to rattle the cage there of Dallas. Maybe it backfires here on the Dallas Stars in this one. But I still think, though, for the majority of this series, I think Minnesota's won more periods in this series than Dallas so far, even after Dallas tied it up in Game 2. So I think there's still another level Dallas has to get to. Because let's be honest, Ottinger made a couple of just ridiculous saves in Game 2. That even though Dallas played better, if not for some spectacular net minding from Ottinger on a few of those sequences, that could have been a different outcome still in Game 2. So, like I said, I'm very, very. We have the Betcast too during this game, so we'll be watching it, and I'll get in live with maybe a look on one of these teams. But pregame, draw, and more so than that, over 5.5. Alex, what do you think? Dallas, Minnesota.
Dallas understands what it is to play on the road, taking a crowd out of the game, and I like them at this spot, plus 145, first goal, first period. That's the only pregame bet that I have. Everything else I'll be waiting for in game. I like the over by factoring the spot more so to that over 5.5, but at $1.30 pregame, I can wait for that. Like I said, during the Betcast, try and get that closer to plus money, or at least a pick and price. And like I said, yeah, with Foligno, like I said, you don't give teams like Dallas bulletin board material. You just don't. You don't poke these giants that have beaten you and have beaten other teams in this spot time and time again. You just simply don't do that, especially when you had all the momentum in your favor, had a chance for the first time ever to take a 2-0 series lead and failed to do so yet again. So I lean with Dallas in this one, but like I said, it'll be a great live game for tonight. First goal, first period, plus 145 for me pregame, and I'll be looking for that at least over 5.5, if not the over trifecta during the Betcast tonight.
We always talk about the zigzag theory. It's even bigger in the NBA, but it's applicable to the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs too. The fact that, hey, a lot of times you want to bet on the team that lost the previous game. And I've said it. I think it was my mentor into the business, Teddy Covers, that mentioned it as well many years ago. That zigzag theory, you know when it works in competitive series. It doesn't work in the mismatch series. Like no one was expecting LA to, win game 2 necessarily, even though it was saying zigzag theory, bet LA because they lost game 1 in Colorado. No, it's a mismatch series. Colorado's just better. So the zigzag theory is not going to work there. This series, I think it is going to work. It is going to be a back and forth. So that's why I was leaning Wild initially, coming off the loss against Dallas. But I don't know. I don't love the Foligno comments. I hate that. I hate that he did that. I think Dallas can be ready to go now because of that tonight here. And they have been a good road team. I'm going back and I'm looking at it right now with Dallas in the postseason. Looking at last year in particular in Colorado, they played pretty solid. In Winnipeg, we saw what they were able to do. They were able to win games on the road there. The Edmonton series, they struggled, but the last couple of years, they've been able to win road playoff games. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, for me, over 5.5 is my favorite look. Andrew, how do you see it? This is going to be a good series and long series. I think we all think that. But what do you think for Game 3, Dallas, Minnesota?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the Minnesota home ice advantage. Kind of honestly changed my tune even since my show earlier today. Like I feel good about Minnesota, how they play at home. I kind of liked the over before. I was talking it up, and this is why it's funny, because you guys know in the business of kind of giving out picks and posting at the website, this is why I love when people subscribe for all access. You don't have to worry about getting them up early, because sometimes you kind of have a change of heart or you look more at a game, and I kind of like the under here. Like I had Minnesota team total under in game 2. We saw game 1 just be more of an offensive open ice type of game, and even though there's so much talent all over the ice, I kind of could see this game being tight. And you guys are doing the Betcast. I'll tell you, I was up pretty late last night. I'll try and join you if I can. But this game could be one of those ones where you look for a live over. Like it could start slow, and then it could start popping, I think. Like Minnesota has no problem being defensive. I'm not sure if this guy is just I like him because he's on both my playoff fantasy teams or he's just playing well. But Eriksson Ek, to get an assist is plus 160. Underrated passer, guys. Eriksson Ek there. And I'll tell you what, Minnesota talking about how all Dallas has is their power play. Well, I'll tell you what, power play point prop right now. You can get, where is he right here? Wyatt Johnston plus 195. Like, I mean, we're going to take that quite a bit. Any chance we can get it, plus 195 for Wyatt Johnston. So I do like that. But I'll tell you, I think that this series is going to be a long one. It's going to be a great one. And you talk about bulletin board material. You just don't want to give any of that to the opponent. But this is one of those series where from one game to the next, anything could change. Like if Minnesota won 8-1 tonight, they could lose 3-1 the next game. Like this is one of those overreaction series, because look at the Habs and Lightning series, right? Like so far, both games tight. But just because a series is a series, it could still be close. It doesn't mean every game is going to be close. So we saw exactly that from game 1 in Dallas with Minnesota dominating. So I look forward to it, but you mentioned the zigzag, Ian, and how it doesn't always work. But this might be the one series that I feel confident in. Whoever loses tonight, I might want to back them in game 4.
Yeah, definitely. It could be one of those deals where loser of this game bounces back game 4. That's something Andrew is looking at. I'm going to go to Hartman and Tarasenko props for Minnesota just because they're on the top line, a little undervalued. We've talked about Hartman. Wow, he's actually been contributing. Now, the thing with Tarasenko is you're not going to get Tarasenko putting the puck on a tee for his line mates like Zuccarello would. That's what they missed with Zuccarello. Great passer, and they're definitely missing some of that now with him likely to be out, although it's not totally. I think game time decisions.
Him and Europe are game time decisions.
Game time decisions as well. And Yakov Trenyan was the guy that got steamrolled by Colin Blackwell in game 2. Great hit, clean hit. Unfortunate result. The guy gets injured, but you can't ask for a more clean hit than that thunderous but clean. You love to see it. You don't love to see him get injured, but you love to see a hit that's clean like that in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then as far as Brock Faber, I think you have to bet props, goal prop, but especially the point prop. He's gotten a point in 2 straight games to begin the series, Brock Faber, and the point prop is still excellent. At really good price on it at. Hold on, let me just see here. There we go. Yeah, plus 135 for Faber to get a point. Miro Heiskanen for Dallas. He's gotten a point in each of the first 2 games, and his point prop is only about minus 120, minus 125. So that's definitely something to consider here in this one. Eriksson X gotten a point in back-to-back games, price a little higher there, minus 140, 45. Jonathan Davis mentioned this in our group chat. I'll mention it too. Obviously, we know Jason Robertson. I mean, if the Minnesota Wild fans never saw Jason Robertson again, they'd be more than happy because all he does is crush their team as far as goal props scoring against them is concerned. Incredible numbers putting the puck in the net for Jason Robertson against the Minnesota Wild. And he's also scored the first goal, says Jonathan Davis, against Minnesota multiple times of late. So the first goal could be a sprinkle for Jason Robertson, and especially if Alex is on that Dallas first goal, first period, thinking Dallas might get the first goal. But yeah, he has certainly had a habit of not only scoring against Minnesota, but it's also been the first goal before against this Minnesota Wild team. And you can go about it both ways. You could go with just first goal of the game, Jason Robertson, or first Dallas goal. There's that option as well. For that. Yeah, but here it is from Jonathan. Jason Robertson, 16 goals in 21 games versus Minnesota. He has scored the first goal of the game in each of his last 3 games in Minnesota. That's what it is. There you go. Each of the last 3 games in Minnesota.
You can get first road team goal plus 460 at FanDuel, or you can get him to score the first goal of the game overall 10-1 at FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, that's when it's each of the last 3 games to Minnesota that he scored the first goal. I mean, I think you got to play the percentages and at least sprinkle on it when you see certainly a track record like that. So that makes a lot of sense here as far as maybe looking in that direction. But should be an interesting game tonight. Oh, one more. I'm on Dallas. I'm going to repeat it with Bork. We'll see about putting on the Ritz. Justin Ritskovian, is he going to still be on the top line tonight with Johnston and Rantanen? As of now, the answer is yes. If that's the case, we'll go back to Ritskovian. There's good value. If he's going to play with Johnston and Rantanen again, there's definitely potential for him to strike. All right, last game, Anaheim-Edmonton, game 2. Edmonton minus 180, home favorite, 6.5 the total. This is only game 2 of this series because it started Monday night. Edmonton up 1-0. What a comeback. I'll say this. They got punched in the mouth, Anaheim, as we kind of expected, got down 2-0. I was impressed that they battled back and got 3 unanswered in the second period to go up 3-2. Now, just like with Utah in game 1 against Vegas, young team on the road, a lot of these players tasting the postseason for the first time, trying to close out a good team like Edmonton on the road is not easy, and it showed. They were up 3-2. They couldn't hold the lead. Edmonton scores twice, and Edmonton wins 4-3 against Anaheim in game 1. But I was impressed with the pushback by Anaheim. For a group that's a lot of their core young players are experiencing Stanley Cup playoff hockey for the first time. I thought it was a solid game for them, all things considered. They want a better start and a better third period, but for them to be down 2-0, I thought, because once it got to 2-0, I'll be honest, I thought, geez, they could run them out now. I thought maybe it would get worse, and instead they ended up tying it and getting back up 3-2. So they showed me some resolve. They showed me some guts. Why is that significant? Because I think I like Anaheim first goal, first period here tonight, and to score in the first period. They've shown me some guts. I don't know about win the game because I think defensively there's issues. Penalty kill's been bad. Dostal hasn't played as well down the stretch. Alex and I have referenced we're worried about the fatigue and the workload issues setting in for Dostal. He's played the most games ever in a single season in his career. He played at the Olympics for Czechia. He looks like a goalie that's just wearing down, plain and simple. Late in the season for as good as he is. But I do like Anaheim to get on the board in the first period, and you're going to get a reasonable price on that at FanDuel because we know Edmonton's always capable. I wasn't impressed with Ingram. I don't think Ingram was spectacular in game 1. I thought he was okay. Wasn't great, and he's not a goalie at the playoffs that's going to scare me, not with what Anaheim can do offensively. So I think there's going to be a pathway for Anaheim to get on the board in the first period. Now, this angle is last year it was humming. Alex. And the angle is team that lost the previous game scoring in the first period of the next game. It was excellent last year. It's only 3-4 this year so far in the playoffs. The team with the game twos, where the team that lost the previous game scoring in the first period of the next game. But I like I like that response from Anaheim after a brutal end of the first period, which tells me they've got some guts to them. Some resolve, some just keep playing in them. And I think that all goes to Joel Quenneville, right, Alex? We've talked about it.
Yeah.
Like, Joel Quenneville's not going to let them say, whoa, guys, it's 2-0. There's a lot of hockey left. It was a bad end of the first period, but we responded in the second with those 3 goals to give ourselves a chance. So that tells me there's a little bit of a resolve in this Anaheim team. I'm looking at it now. FanDuel's got -160 for Anaheim to score in the first period. I'm going to wait for that price to drop just a little bit. If we get them without a goal in the first 3, 4, 5 minutes of the period, we'll get a better price on the Betcast tonight. So that's a Betcast look for sure. If it drops, I'm going to bet it. I think the other looks, we got to, until I see this series cashing under, it could be over or nothing for me for the total at 6.5. It's been 7s plus in repeatedly Ducks versus Oilers in recent head-to-head meetings. So I could only look over 6.5. I think Edmonton team total over 3.5 does interest me though for the full game. Now that's a little pricey too. And because we've got the Betcast, we might wait for that to drop just a little bit. The way I see it is I'm hoping we at least get 3 to 5 minutes of scoreless hockey to begin this game. Because if we do, I'm going to get a better price than what's out there now on Anaheim to score in the first, which I want. And I'm going to get a better price on Edmonton team total over 3.5 for the game, which I want. And I don't want to lay, -150, 55 in some spots right now with Edmonton team total over. But if we get those few minutes of scoreless hockey live on the Betcast tonight, we'll get a better price in-game, and we'll bet it on the Betcast tonight. That's the approach. Alex, what do you think here, Anaheim, Edmonton?
Yeah, I mentioned at the top of the show how I'm looking forward to this game from a live betting perspective. But pregame, I am on first period, both teams to score +140. And as I said, it's just predicated on the fact I like Anaheim to get on the board early in this game. But like I said, if we can wait 3, 4, 5 minutes into the contest and during the Betcast, have some chances to get some better opportunities, better prices on some plays, that's definitely something we'll be looking at as well. So just both teams to score in the first pregame and everything else looking for a live.
You know what? I don't know why I spaced out on not mentioning that, because I had it on my list. It didn't slip my mind to mention it, but Alex just reminded me of it. I think it is a great first period, both teams to score game. I really think so. I think it's the best game to bet first period, both teams to score tonight. This one, and I'm off the loss. I think they can get on the board in the first 20, but I don't know if they're keeping Edmonton neutralized. That's for damn sure. With what we've seen, not only in game 1, but obviously going back to the regulars, and just the way Anaheim defended down the stretch, which wasn't very good. So that's good first period, both teams to score game. 100% agree. Andrew, what do you think here, Ducks Oilers?
Ian, it took an hour and 2 minutes, but the gloves are off at center ice here because I'm taking Oilers first period, -0.5 goal. So look, for me, to win a game,
that's not necessarily the case. If it's 2-1 Edmonton after the first period, I'm happy still, because I'm only on them to score in the first.
As long as they don't score first, right? As long as they don't. So let's get a start with Anaheim goal, then 2 in a row for Edmonton, and we'll both be happy there. But look, I think I can't undersell how much it means to me that they won a game without Leon or Connor scoring, especially even Connor getting a point. Unless you're a fantasy owner, I mean, you got to be happy with the Edmonton Oilers, what they were able to accomplish there. It reminds me a little bit of that LA Kings game, right? Like the LA, I know it's different because it was low scoring, but that's a game that you should be looking to win if you're the Anaheim Ducks, if you were able to contain Connor McDavid the way that they did. Supporting cast, huge. The chances were huge. Pod Colson's a guy that's plays the right way as far as playoffs are concerned. I thought Wallman looked good. I thought a lot of the guys in the blue line were activating. So I like the first period play here, -0.5 goal. It's one of those ones where you say to yourself, man, they got that win and they probably weren't even playing their best hockey. So I think they're going to just jump out of a cannon for the first period of this one. This is one of the few games where I've looked at a game 2. I mean, if we take away the Kings series, which nobody believes in the Kings, but this is one of the only game 2s where I haven't even considered a zigzag in game 2, just because I think that Edmonton won the game, but didn't even play close to their best stuff, and we're going to see an even better effort. It's probably an indicator of why the team total is upwards of 155, because they expect 4+ goals for the Oilers tonight. So this is Andrew has to sleep more tonight. First period, 20 minutes, get in, get out type of wager here. So I do like that one. And I'll tell you what, if you want to take a look at Connor McDavid stuff, I would look at 2+ assists. He can score, but great playmaker as well. And I think the longer the playoffs go on, the more he wants to make his team around him better. I don't know how, guys, but I stumbled today. I was eating lunch. I was watching like old Stanley Cup stuff. And you look at all the old Stanley Cup teams the past few years. Let's not you look at the Florida Panthers team, you look at the Avalanche team, the Vegas Golden Knights team, the Lightning team. Like, look how much depth those guys had. Like, you can look at every star player and tell me they were great for them, but every single team has a good supporting cast, and you need to have it. So if you're Connor McDavid, obviously you couldn't care less what happens as long as you win. But I think it's so important for this team to have gotten some goals from. And how about Colton Doc? One Doc's having a great playoffs. The other Doc's having a shitty playoffs. Might have played his last game as a Canadian. But Colton Doc, he plays the right way. He's not going to score goals for you, but I think he had 4 or 5 hits in his first playoff game. And that was good to see from him.
Yep, no question. I thought it was solid. Unfortunately, Jason Dickinson had a great game, and here he is on the damn injury report again.
Oh, and
Radko Gudas. Of course he is.
No Gudas either is kind of crazy. That's tough loss for the Ducks.
Well, it is, because now you got Hines and Hellison as your third pair now. Tyson Hines, Drew Hellison. I don't know how much ice time they're going to get. Joe Quenneville's probably going to play the top 2 pairs a lot, try to shield that third pair. You're going to see a lot of Kooky, Lenmy Lacombe, Jackson Lacombe, Jacob Trouba, Minchikov, and John Carlson. You're going to see a lot of them tonight, for sure. The ice time is going to go up, which means, if you're interested in props on the back end, Lacombe props could be good tonight. He's going to get a lot of ice time now because of the injury to Gudas. So that's something to look for. Benji's on the money with Matty Robb special. This could be a good night, good game for one of those. The first period over 5.5 full game combination. I could see that. As far as props for me for this game, Troy Terry, obviously back-to-back games with a goal, 2-goal game in game 1. I'm going to go back to the same usual suspects for Edmonton as well here in this game tonight, where I want Savoy with as long as he's with McDavid. Matt Savoy goal prop, I'm interested. Always whoever's flanking Draisaitl, it's Podkolzin and it's Kapanen. He's become Mr. Playoffs, Kasperi Kapanen. What this guy's been able to do in the postseason suddenly the last couple of years with these big goals and big times, I think his goal prop is once again worth a look. Dickinson's a game-time decision. Adam Henrique has already been ruled out for Edmonton for this game and drawing into the lineup, and I'm going to bet him to score. It's kind of like the feel I have with Brazeau for Pittsburgh coming in. Maybe he gives them a jolt. Josh Szymanski, who actually scored the last game he played for the Edmonton Oilers. Josh Szymanski is going to enter the lineup for Adam Henrique tonight. And Josh Szymanski's prop, even though he's going to be a bottom 6 forward only, plus 875. Why not? Why not sprinkle on it with Josh Szymanski here for Edmonton? And he did score the last time he suited up for the Edmonton Oilers. So we'll get in on that for a little bit as well. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Reminder, live Betcast for the Western Conference games tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you join us on the Patreon exclusive Ice Guys Live Betcast. 9:30 p.m. Eastern will be on for the Dallas, Minnesota, Anaheim, Edmonton games. We'll probably catch the tail end of Pittsburgh, Philly as well when we start the Betcast at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And again, to become a member of the Patreon page and be there and join us on the Betcast tonight, get on board for just $10 per month. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. It's back-to-back nights with Patreon exclusive live betcasts, which tells you how many betcasts we're going to have throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs for our Patreon members, a ton of them. So make sure you get on board. Membership goes a long way to supporting the show. $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys.
And also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Today started the full week of 20% off all items in the store. Just hit the redeem button at the homepage, add your items to your cart, and 20% will be taken off at checkout. Springtime, playoff time is a great time to get yourself a cap, a t-shirt, a hoodie, maybe all three, and now you can save 20% off for the next week. That's over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Perfect time to get on board and check some store items and get some store items. 20% off for the week, and the weather's warming up. So check it out, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up to end the show right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsor.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Wednesday 3-game Stanley Cup playoff slate. Didn't have one last night. Did have one a couple nights ago with Dylan Cousins for Ottawa, but we did not have one last night. We'll see if we can get back with a bargain bin special to add to the win column. Alex, we'll start with you. Bargain bin special of the night.
Yeah, let's go up the street to Grand Casino Arena for Game 3. You got the Wild hosting the Stars, and I like those numbers that we were talking about with Jason Robertson. Give me him to score the first away team goal plus 460, along with the first goal of the game at 10-1. We'll go with both of them as bargain bin specials tonight. So Jason Robo to get things started off for the Dallas Stars here in Game 3. That would be 10-1 or first goal of the game, and plus 460 first Stars goal of the game. My two bargain bin specials.
There you go. Jason Robertson, first Dallas goal, plus 460, and just first goal of the game. Overall at 10-1 plus 1,000. Good prices for sure. And Jonathan made mention of it. First goal for him in 3 straight games in Minnesota. Wow. Andrew, what do you got? Bargain bin special.
Well, I thought I had a unique one here, but Robert in the live chat, we're on the same page here, man. I got the same one, plus 450. Ben Kindle to score tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Look, you're going to be covering Malkin, covering Crosby, covering Raquel, Rust, all these guys. Don't forget about the young kid. You know, how much have we thought about this, guys, where sometimes these kids, they don't even, they take it for granted how special it is for your team to be in the playoffs. The moment's not too big for you because you don't even realize how awesome it is yet until your team might not be back there for another 5 years. Kindle's going to be the guy that I think can go undercover a little bit. No one's really worried about him, and he scores. So, plus 450 anytime goal, and first goal scorer is 25-1. So that's a pretty good one there. And he had some shots in the past few games here. He's a guy that seems to always find the open ice. Even though he's kind of small, he doesn't really seem to be scared to go to those dirty areas, guys. So Ben Kindle tonight, hell of a price.
It is a good price. Yeah, Ben Kindle. And he was playing some pretty good hockey offensively for Pittsburgh for portions of the regular season. We'll see if he can find it again tonight. Ben Kindle for Andrew with his bargain bin special. I've got 2 for tonight. I'm going to take a shot with a Penguin tonight, but it's a different Penguin. It's Justin Brazeau. It's the old back in the lineup all of a sudden theory. They need something to give them a jolt. I'm not saying Justin Brazeau is going to be the answer, but at plus 560, I'm willing to take a shot. Plus 560, Justin Brazeau back in the lineup. That maybe he can find pay dirt and find the back of the net for Pittsburgh. So Justin Brazeau plus 560. My other bargain bin special, I'm going to Edmonton, and I'm going to Kasperi Kapanen again. He's a playoff guy. He's been a very underrated playoff producer for Edmonton. Scored, obviously, in Game 1. Plus 480, the best price with Kasperi Kapanen for Edmonton. So there you go. Justin Brazeau plus 560. For Pittsburgh, and Kasperi Kapanen plus 480 for Edmonton. for my 2 bargain bin specials here for this Wednesday night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
Yeah, let's go with that Ducks-Oilers game. Let's go with the first period. Both teams to score plus 140. Like I said, we like that spot quite a bit. It should be another high-flying affair to start that game 2. So give me Anaheim, Edmonton. Both teams to score in the first period plus 140. My best bet tonight.
All right, great stuff. Anaheim, Edmonton, both teams to score plus 140 first period for Alex B. Smith. Andrew, what do you got for best bet?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Always a pleasure to catch up, and hopefully you can cash a best bet winner. We're going to go to the prop market for my best bet. I said the wrong guy earlier, but I promised you this is one that I like here. Rickard Rakell over 2.5 shots on goal. Again, it's not that I don't believe in Sid or Gino or the top guys, but I do think you get a secondary scoring opportunity, a point or assist, a goal from Rakell, it can help. And I think the shots have to come. Even though it's an away game now for them, I can guarantee one thing. Even if they don't win, this Pittsburgh team, it's going to be a lot of shots from them from the outside, probably even bad angles, but they're still going to try and pepper the net with shots. So I think Rickard Rakell over 2.5 shots on goal. He's done very well against this team, and hopefully he gets the job done tonight for us. Plus 100.
There you go. Rickard Rakell over shots on goal for Andrew with his best bet. And my best bet, we mentioned the trends. Dallas, Minnesota, finished the season playing a lot of overs so far in this series. Game 1, game 2, 6+ goals, both games. And I get a 5.5. I'll take it. Give me Dallas, Minnesota over 5.5, minus 130. We'll go with that for my best bet here for this Wednesday slate. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. Great to have Andrew back. It's like days of yore. Yeah. The original incarnation of the Ice Guys. Anything you want to add, Andrew, before we say goodbye?
Yeah, no, appreciate you guys having me on. Of course, puck time, 11 a.m. Eastern, and every Monday through Friday, and we do our Saturday show recording Friday afternoons. So, yeah, can't wait for the next couple games here, guys. The playoffs are unbelievable, and always great catching up with you guys.
It's the only other NHL betting show we'd tell people to watch, Puck Time, just because Andrew and Carmine are just such great guys. That's why. No question. But like I said, check them out. And again, and Andrew too, I know it's late, but even if it's just 10, 15 minutes, you're welcome to join us on the Betcast tonight. And we hope we see a lot of you that are Patreon members for the Betcast tonight as well. 9:30 p.m. Eastern time is when it will begin. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Andrew McGinnis, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday. We'll see you for the Betcast tonight, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And we're back, as always, Thursday for the Daily Show, 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Ice Guys.